Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Cutting Edge Figure Skating Podcast. My name is Kim Dunaway. In this episode, I am joined by two very wonderful ladies from Keep the Flame Alive podcast. Please welcome Jill and Alison to the podcast. Thank you so much, ladies, for joining me today.
Thanks for having me, Kim. It's
Yes.
great to be here.
Thank you.
So, we're going to be previewing the Olympics for figure skating. And first of all, why don't you guys tell me a little bit about your podcast? Because you guys are actually going to Milano, correct?
We are going to be seeing stuff in person. So that's very exciting. So keep the flame alive. We are year round, all the time, weekly podcast since 2017, covering the Olympics and Paralympics. So we don't just cover figure skating, we cover any and all, including the spectacle beyond the sports. But figure skating is one of my favorites. And Kim and I met at Worlds last year when it was in Boston, and I actually got to go, which was really exciting. So yeah, we'll be in Milan, and during the Olympics and Paralympics, we will be doing daily shows about our adventures and what we see and what we go, and hopefully, it is a high demand ticket, but I am hoping to be at the ladies' finals.
Okay.
That is my dream event for this Olympics.
Very cool. Yeah, and to me that field is anybody's game. Were you able to catch nationals? I know you weren't there, but were you able to catch the women's at nationals?
Oh my goodness, was that a fun competition to watch? I
So
love when
good.
everybody is clean and then you can just compare the skaters as they are in that pure form, where it's not, oh, this person fell, this person popped a jump, that they just landed everything and you could really see how good they can be. That's the best kind of competition for me.
Right.
I
Uh,
agree.
and I
Go
would
ahead.
say like all three of the podium finalists and for the women, they are all beautiful skaters in different ways. And just what that team will bring to Milano is going to be incredible compared to a super amazing Japanese team. And you've got Italians in the mix in Italy. So, of course, that's going to be heightened even more. And it's that competition overall is going to be fantastic.
Yeah, a lot of people think this is the best US team that we've had since at least 2002 when we had Sasha Cohen, Sarah Hughes, and Michelle Kwan. I think 98 is another really good team where everybody was national champions. Once again, everybody was world medalist there. What are your kind of thoughts on this team versus some of the teams that we have seen in the past?
I think the fun thing about this team is, like you said, that we had we had multiple national champions in the mix who didn't even make the team, which is always a fun thing. I think this team is probably the best team we've ever sent, simply because by how consistent the three of them are. They really could end to go up against an equally, as Jill said, strong Japanese team. I mean, Japan and the US could, in theory, sweep the podium, and everybody would be okay with that because it is that level. And just the level of ladies figure skating in terms of how many people could end up on the podium, I think makes this team special in an even more special way, not for lack of a better term, but above that 98 and '02 teams even.
So a lot of talk has been about Alyssa Liu's free skate. So she debuted the Lady Gaga at this competition at nationals. Has already scrapped it. Basically, it's going back to MacArthur Park. You were in Boston like me. That program definitely had its moment there, but it's proven to be such a winner. She won with it at Grand Prix final. I thought the Lady Gaga program was a bit empty, and so I think going back to MacArthur Park is the right decision. What do you think?
I liked the Gaga program. It needed to be baked longer, in a reference to MacArthur Park. I wish she had debuted it earlier and given it the Grand Prix season time, because I think it could be a good program. Because I know there is some debate on if MacArthur Park is kind of overdone at this point because she's competed it so much, but it's such a magical performance. And every time she competes it, she brings something new to it. So I don't think it's overdone, and it is so gorgeous. And honestly, I liked the gold dress better. if I can get as simple as I didn't like the
Well,
Gaga dress. I thought it was fussy and I thought it took away from her skating. So I'm kind of
Mm.
glad she's going back to MacArthur Park.
She's
well,
supposed to have a new dress though.
Oh,
well,
disappointing for me.
hopefully it will be gold. I did like the Gaga dress, but I did think that platinum, you could call it platinum. You could say it's silver. That's not always a good sign, as we know the old superstition. But I honestly, while I was watching Alyssa skate the Gaga program, I reflexively thought in the beginning, this is like a gala piece. Like there was something in the beginning of the piece that was very not simplistic, but it was just not as advanced as I would say a competition piece is. And it got better as the program went on, but I was really shocked when I had that just gut reaction of, oh, this is kind of a gala piece.
Mm. I feel that. Yeah. Why don't we just stick with the women as we get into Milano? This feels like the most open field in all of the disciplines because you have so many. I mean, last year at Worlds we had those three Japanese women, we had the three American women, but now you're going to enter in Adelia Petrosian, who's a big wild card. I haven't paid, I don't know about you guys, I haven't paid very little attention to Russia in the past 4 years. I am outside of the qualifier. I haven't seen her. I know that she's added the triple axel to quad back to her program. There was a lot of controversy with her even winning Russian nationals, but she's into the picture with the way that Nina Petrokina just skated at Europeans. I think you've got to throw her into the conversation as well. Luna has the potential. We haven't seen her at her best, but she's definitely got the potential. So what are you thinking for the ladies?
And don't forget Laura Naki Gutman, who is a shark and and a hometown favorite. So yeah, we have these European women in the mix as well. And I mentioned this on an earlier episode of ours. I counted 10 women that could end up on the podium and nobody would be surprised. And that didn't even count the Russian and the Belarusian. So almost anything could happen at this field, and it all depends on who stays on their skates and if people can be clean. But the good news is that so many of these skaters are so consistent, and that Luna's probably the biggest wild card because she's still coming back from injury and still can be perfect and can be a little off depending on the day. But she looked good. She's looked good the past couple times I've seen her. So this could be well, we know this is going to be a lot of fun and a lot of blockbuster, but I'm hoping to see Cowrie on the podium again. And I think she could be. I'm hoping to see at least two of the American women. So it's all going to depend on how that ice is and how they show up.
Yeah, Amber said after the women's free skate in the press conference that, of course, they're all aware of the 20-year drought that it has been since an American lady has been on the podium. And she feels like one of the three of them will be on there. And, I mean, I think hopefully there's not the pressure for them to sweep. Are they capable of it? Of course they are. But I do agree with her that if they all, between the three of them, one of them's going to get there. I have the most confidence in Alyssa because she just does not miss. I was at practices, every practice, starting at Tuesday when I got there. And Alyssa, she doesn't even miss in practice. She's so consistent. And now going back to that kind of winter program, I'd be shocked if she wasn't on the podium there. And I'm like you, I feel like Cowrie, I would have a lot of confidence too in the third spot. So many possibilities. Yeah, between all of those other people that we just mentioned.
Alyssa last year at Worlds was that free program was so incredibly magical, but I remember watching it and after she hit her first jumping pass, I thought to myself, and I even said it out loud, she's got it. There was something in her skating that I haven't seen since, or that I should say that I haven't not seen since. Every time she gets on the ice, she hits that first jump, and there's just this ease and confidence where she's just having so much fun with it, and the pressure is not getting to her. And as a fan, it's so much fun to watch someone so confident in her own skating. And that's beautiful and really, really fantastic and fun.
Yeah, in fact, when I interviewed Nicole Bobeck, and I know you guys interviewed her last fall too, and I finished her book on New Year's Day. It was so interesting. I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but even she talked about in her interview, I'm trying to do the Alyssa thing when she's out there skating,
We,
and so a lot of skaters are trying to pick up that, and I don't think it's anything that she can package, and she says she gets nervous. I mean, she said in the press before Skate America, like she's like I do get nervous, like it's not just like a like I don't have any nerves, but there is an ease about her that I don't know that we have seen from skaters outside of like brand new junior skaters when a pressure just hasn't hit them yet.
Right. And that attitude is just infectious. You can see that spread all throughout the women's competition where they're happy to be there, they're cheering each other on, and it's just really nice to see how the they're working on relieving that pressure because what they do is supposed to be fun. And the Olympics is a great big honor and it's supposed to be fun. So I like them to I like to see them having fun at doing what they do best.
if Alyssa could package that, we would all buy it for our lives. Let's be honest. If she could put that in a box, she would be a gazillionaire.
Oh yeah, they were a hoot after the press conference at Nationals. The three of them were an absolute hoot for sure. They need a Olympic Channel needs to follow them instead of like they did Ice Academy in Montreal last Olympics. All right, well, let's talk about ice dance because there was yet another controversy constantly with Gabrielle Papadakis getting let go from NBC because of her book coming out, and then Guillaume suing her basically for defamation, got a cease and desist. There's so much. I've even seen Page Six. I saw US Weekly. I've seen several media outlets pick up this story. So, what's kind of your vantage point? You guys think about this?
This is heartbreaking to me because anyone who listens to our show knows that I was such a huge fan of Papadakis and Cicerone. I was heartbroken when they lost to Virtue and Moyer, and then when they came back to Beijing and were so beautiful, it was such a special moment for me as a fan. And to see this breakup having gotten so ugly, and to recognize for me that both perspectives can be true, that he thought he was doing the right thing and she thought he was controlling, and she was really struggling and suffering. And I always thought it was a little odd when she would have to announce a competition that he was in. And I didn't think that NBC did a great job of acknowledging that in other competitions, that, oh, that's her former partner. She could have a bias either way. But now that it has gotten so ugly is just heartbreaking and sad and tarnishes my impression of that partnership that was so long standing. I mean, you don't see ice dance partnerships that last for so long and are so successful over so many cycles. And I'm sad for Papadakis to lose out on that gig that she was really coming into her own as an announcer at National. She really did a nice job.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not as connected to the ice dance portion, having been won over through the show, through our podcast and talking to skaters. But I did think that Gabrielle was doing a nice job as commentary for NBC, and that's such a tough job, and I understand why they let her go, but I also it's sorry that she's got to derail that career a little bit because it's a nice sideline.
Yeah, it is. It's such a unfortunate situation because you don't want her to feel like they're trying to suppress her story, right? But too, there is definitely a conflict of interest, which I feel like so far she's navigated okay, and I think this has brought more attention to it, good or
Right, and
bad.
I'm sure NBC doesn't want the attention on their commentary team for something that people are going to really be I don't want to say salacious or scandalous or what something lighter than that word, but they don't want that attention on the commentary team. They want the attention on the athletes competing in Milan.
Yeah. And
I,
there's
I've
already a lot of controversy with that team anyway.
Yeah, I was going to say ice dance brings the controversy by itself. We don't need to add to it somehow.
Right. So if we look at it, I mean, I think Chalk and Bates come in as a favorite just because they're undefeated. But if you were to ask me who I'm going to put my money on, I mean, I'm going to put my chips on the table for Fona Beaudry and Cizeron because we haven't really seen them at their best. They definitely, to me, display the best skating skills, probably. I feel like Chalk and Bates' best way to win is they've got to win the rhythm dance. They've got to get a lead because they can't come from behind with the free dance that Fauna Berger and Cizeron have. And so I think if you take the free dance that they did at nationals and with the rhythm dance that they did at Grand Prix final, I think that that's their best package to win. And I still don't know that it'll be enough, but I feel like that's definitely the key for them is to get that lead in the rhythm dance.
Yeah, the judges seem to be a little cool on the Cicerone Fournier rhythm dance in a way that they're not with Chalk and Bates. So I think they do have an advantage just in terms of how the judges view those two programs. But I agree with you that I am not a huge fan of the Matador program. I was disappointed in it the first time I saw it. It has gotten significantly better as the season has progressed. But I was concerned that that was not a gold medal winning program when it was debuted in the Grand Prix circuit. So it's like, and then as I've mentioned before on our show, that costume makes me angry. That skirt makes me angry. And it's ridiculous how angry that skirt makes me. Every time she flips it around, I'm like, because I can't see her beautiful leg line.
Mm.
And she has such a gorgeous line. Why are you hiding it beneath a bushel basket here?
Yeah, I prefer this one better than the first one that they had.
Yes.
The first one I couldn't watch the program at all. I was so distracted. So this one is definitely an improvement. It does feel very scary because they're mistake prone. I mean, at the Olympics, it has not gone well for them. And so it does feel like you're tempting fate a little bit. But I mean, Laurence tripped on her skirt, right? The Grand Prix.
Yes. And that was shocking because that skirt is so thin and ethereal looking. I never expected that. And she's been doing this a long time. You wouldn't think, but quirky things happen. That's ice dance. If it can happen, it'll happen in ice dance.
I
Yeah.
will say I wanted some red back in Madison Chalk's skirt. It was gone at nationals, but it's a matador. You should have a red cape in a way, unless they just don't want to try to interpret it too on the nose. But the thing about Cicerone and Fodre, that's such a new pair too. And the amazing thing is that the skating skill is there, but it's like the time spent together. How can you compress that into such a short partnership when, you need time to develop these things? So I think that's where their like Achilles heel is.
And from my understanding, their plan is to stick around until 2030.
Oh.
And so imagine if they come out and win the Olympics in the very
Wow.
first season together. It's like here we go. People have been aching for these teams to retire, and then here you sort of have, and they're not a retread in the same way, but it also doesn't allow for maybe the turnover that people were hoping to see coming out of this Olympic cycle. And I do agree with you in terms of Chalk and Bates free dance. I feel like this is the weakest material that they've had in this Olympic cycle, but I also don't love Gillis and Poirier's free dance either. I feel like this is one of their weaker ones as well. Gwenard and Fabry didn't bring their best materials to the table. I like their free dance, but the rhythm dance is not their best material. So I feel like this with a lot of the teams this year, and there were so many repeat programs across all four disciplines too, and so it's almost felt a little stale in a way, sadly, sort of going into the Olympics. But if you look at Gillis and Poirier also don't have a great track record at the Olympics either. Fear and Gibson have just been kind of dipping at their heels so much. Where do you feel like the rest of the podium? Because I think we're all looking at those top two in some order. But how does that bronze medal race finish?
I mean, if you look at the Grand Prix final, Fear and Gibson are going to get that bronze medal, and the Canadians are going to be locked out again, which don't I don't get I love Fear and Gibson. I don't get the love for their long program, but when you compare it to some of this, like as you were saying, some of the staleness that we're seeing, I get the love of that long program because it is so different. It is so fresh. They are so energetic. It's so fun. It's a little different than everything we've been seeing over the past cycle. And that helps them tremendously to get that attention. And judges are human occasionally, and they do have that, wow, this does make me feel better about my sport. And I think Fear and Gibson have tapped into that, why you love ice dance and why it's special. And some of the other teams have lost that. Yeah. And I feel so bad for the Italians because they have not, they just gained no traction this season with either of their programs. And to go into a home Olympics and to not even be part of the conversation anymore must be so frustrating for them.
Yeah, to me, it's been maybe the biggest surprise of the last couple of seasons because they looked so on track. In two, when I looked back, I think it was probably in the second year of the Olympic cycle. I looked back and I was like, so many times the Olympic podium has been some combination of the podium in that first Worlds after the Olympics, and in that those were the three. So you get the French team who also is basically pushed them out as well. Unfortunately for them, but the robot that they did last season was just such a mistake, and the stubbornness to stick with them really set them back, and they really needed to come back this season. It's really strong, and it didn't happen. It also kind of felt like at that first Grand Prix, again, bad luck getting paired with the French team in France right off the bat was unfortunate too. But I do feel bad for them because now they still go into the Olympics as probably the best medal chance. No, I would put that on Conti and Mashi at this point.
Oh, Conti and
Yeah.
Machi. Oh my goodness, do I adore them.
Well, let's shift to pairs. Pairs is my favorite discipline. It's not everybody's favorite discipline. In fact, it's always the discipline that has the least amount of people watching it, the least amount of people talking about it. What is you guys' engagement with pair skating?
Last time around, I was so excited about Sway and Han, and I'm actually kind of hoping that their comeback gets us a sharp uptick this time around because they looked like they hadn't been skating when we first saw them competing. So I hope they stay healthy, first of all, and that they really just make an absolute splash. But I would love to see the Italians win in Italy. I mean, how special would that be? And then you have the Canadians just coming out at it. And I think pairs is going to be a lot more fun than it's been the past few Olympics.
I
Yeah,
think so too.
I was lucky enough to be in Beijing during the Olympics last time and saw pairs, and that Sui and Han free skate was magical. Their short program was magical. The one of the things I will never forget is when they won and they were announced as the winner. Some volunteer rushed across the concourse to go hug her buddy because she was so thrilled that their home team had won, and they were just so beautiful. This time around, I'm really hoping that their comeback is good and that they stay healthy, and it'll be fun to watch and see how they've managed to, you know, pivot from that Grand Prix that they had. And of course, I as an old person, I like Deanna Stellato. Deanna Stellato Dudek, rooting for them. I'm not sure that they'll be on top of the podium, but I really hope they make the podium for sure. I mean, she has worked so hard and has been so um, dedicated to this dream, and it's just you don't want to say it's tried to say, oh, it's such an inspiration, but it really shows like, oh, hey, I had this dream, I can go back to it, and she's made it work, and it's just been incredible to watch, and I really hope they can pull off a great performance there.
They'll have to do better than what they did at nationals.
Yeah.
Canadians was a real was like, boy, maybe they just got it out of the way. But
Let's
I feel
hope.
like they've been kind of falling behind now since they won Worlds 2 years ago, and we're so good. I feel like their programs last year were subpar, and then this year I really really dislike their free skate a lot. Some programs, kind of like the Matador with Maddie and Evan, at the beginning of the season, I'm like, I don't know, but it kind of grows on me. And I feel like this one has almost gone in the opposite direction. It's like I somehow like it less than I did even when I saw it earlier in the season. I don't know how you guys feel. And the short program is so good. It's the drama of Carmita Burana is so good for them. And that free skate to me just falls completely flat.
I can't stand the backflip. I think it feels gimmicky, and it to me takes away from an excellent program. I know why they threw it in there. And it does get the crowd going, but it frustrates me because it feels like, oh, it's not even, you're not landing on one foot. You're not landing in a pretty position. It's a show skate trick.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very frustrating.
Right. But is that also like coming to terms with the rule changes? And we've lived for so long with no backflip, no backflip. And now we can have backflips. And it's an adjustment for us to get used to that rule. Because, yeah, it's kind of jarring to see them, but they are showstoppers. And now that they're allowed, what's a good backflip? What's not a good backflip? We may not be
Now
pretty, but
it's
they get points.
yeah, it's funny. After Elia skated, Lynn Rutherford turned to me and she goes, he did, which was for him a watered down program. She was like, he did 3 quads and the crowd went nuts for the backflip the most. I mean,
See,
that it,
his backflip, I don't mind because it goes in the program. And also it's his position in the air is pretty. It's got that flat out position. So I think backflips in theory don't bother me, but hers bothers me because it just doesn't fit in with the rest of the program.
interesting. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, they'll be in the mix, but I think they need help from some of the other teams. What do you think about Hossi and Volodin of Germany, who always have very strong elements? To me, they lack the excitement and the connection that we see from like Murakihara, Kantimashi. How do you kind of feel about them?
If people start making mistakes, they'll be clean. You can kind of count on the Germans to be consistent, and they can sneak in there because their elements are so solid and so good. So if the Canadians start falling, if the Japanese are struggling, they're notoriously hurt in so often that they'll just kind of quietly end up on the podium and we won't even understand how it happened. But yeah, I mean, you watch that triple twist and you're like, oh, can we box that and sell it to everybody? It's just so textbook.
Yeah, they have. I really love their 4 seasons free skate last year. I
Mhm.
actually thought they should have won Worlds. I feel like Mira and Kihara always make mistakes and they get just tons of benefit from the judges. And I don't know if that's going to fly in Milan. I think they're going to have to be clean for once. We'll see. In the Georgian pair who just won Europeans, who the judges really love this Bolero short program that they're doing. What do you think about them? Is it a year too soon for them, or do you think they're really in the mix?
I think they're in the mix again if other people start making mistakes and they're clean. I mean, Paris is the most notorious for who skates clean ends up on the podium. It's not necessarily who is the best or who has the best elements, but who can keep it together in those moments. And I think if they keep it together again, they'll just quietly end up on the podium and we'll be surprised. But they're going to be fun to watch if they decide to stick around over the next cycle, which I mean, they're young, so I think they'll be around for another cycle. So that'll be fun to watch them develop. But they could just, quietly get themselves a nice little bronze medal and push them on their way.
Yeah, I mean, I pick between, and I'm too. I'm interested what Sway and Han looks like this weekend at 4 Continents because we haven't seen them since the Grand Prix. They've had some time. I mean, I saw a video from nationals, and things looked better, but I'm interested to see what they look like in international competition this week, and that'll sort of give me a little bit of an idea because I had such mixed feelings. So it's like I love them, like love, love, love them, and so it was tough to see them at a level that was below what we last saw them at. Going out in that big moment, winning on your home Olympics, you're never going to exceed that moment, right? But here they are, and I'm interested to see. I think they're definitely going to be in the mix. The Italians, the Germans, the Japanese, for sure. I think the Italians have the 2 best programs, honestly, of the mix, and I do. Vera Kihara's free skate has grown on me. I always like their short program that they did last year. And then you've got the two American teams who are not in the mix. But what do you think of the decision to send Shannon Howe, which they basically went with the chalk, right? They were fourth. They were the next eligible team that had citizenship. But there was some thought of maybe they should have sent Shannon Naj because they're sort of the future. You're sort of sending this team that a lot of people think probably aren't going to be together, past this season. So did you agree with that decision? You think it was the right decision to send them?
This is really hard because we interviewed Spencer. So he
Mm.
became one of our people. So when he got to go, it felt very personal. Like, oh, he's getting this moment and this dream. So that was very hard to say, oh, I don't know. I think they can be unpredictable, but in the big moments, I think they will hold it together and give a nice, solid performance at the Olympics. And that's really what you need in the circumstances and in the position they're in. They're the number two team. Whereas, why does the name go out of my head?
Shannon Naj.
Yeah, thank you, Shin and Naj. I'm wondering if they're getting, I don't want to say punished. That feels too harsh of a word, but they got dinged because of what they did at the qualifier.
Which I felt like was an unfair position to put them in.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree that I am happy that Spencer gets to go and Emily. But is the Olympics where you want to bring your future people? Or when you only have two positions, what do you want to compete? Do you want somebody who is going to be more reliable? And I realize that Shannon Howe had a really disastrous short program at nationals, but on the whole, they are pretty reliable. Whereas Shannon Naj, yeah, they didn't do well at the qualifier. You could see the nerves during nationals really badly. So if you take this young team and put them in the Olympics, what happens in the team event, especially if you need both pairs to compete at the team? Because I don't know the team assignment yet, but I just think that you kind of have to go with the overall body of work in this case.
It's interesting you bring up the team event because I wanted to bring that up before we talk about the men because I feel like there's implications with that because the men and the schedule is weird this year. Like usually we get, a discipline at a time. And this time they're doing the rhythm dance and the men's short program and the free dance and the men's long program. And then they sort of go with what they would normally do, which is then pairs complete before the women start. So it does influence maybe what Chalk and Bates might have done versus if they competed later on into the event. And they, the US comes in as the heavy favorites. I mean, you won 3 disciplines at World. You should win the team gold. But there was so much talk after Jason Brown had the unfortunate, heartbreaking performance at nationals that he had about now what do you do with the team event? Right. And I was sitting next to Phil Hirsch, and Phil Hirsch was like, Elia's got to skate both segments, which I think is ridiculous. I think it's absolutely ridiculous for that to be an expectation. You've got to prioritize the individual gold. I also think it's probably unnecessary, provided that they do well in the other segments as you would expect. But what are your kind of general thoughts about the team events? Do you even like the team event?
No. The short answer is no, because it feels, I mean, I love that skaters get another shot at a medal, but the way the format is laid out doesn't make a lot of sense. Usually by the last event, we know the medalists and it's performative. It really is a US versus Japan event this year, which is fun because we haven't seen that particular matchup going for the gold in the team event. Russia has been the big player, and now obviously we're not going to see them. To say Ilia has to skate both, I agree, is a lot of pressure because I think Andrew and Maxim could very well be good enough to keep the U.S. team solidly in gold medal position. but it also depends on what Japan does. Do they switch up their men? Do they split that? And then what do you do with that? And then which women do you put on? Because you can only swap out so many skaters for long and short. You can't have two different for each discipline. So
Hmm.
which of the women do you have do the pieces? Because usually you would say the US champion has the call to say whether she wants to skate both. I don't think Amber's going to want to skate both. We definitely want her to skate the short because her number is so good. But then what do you do with the women? So I think the team event is going to be a lot of coaching choices, is almost going to determine the medals.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would actually go with Alyssa for the short because they feel like she's more consistent.
Fair enough. Yeah, I guess it's how is that triple axel looking? Because if
Hmm.
she hits it, her number is so good that she would win the short over Kaori, who I assume is going to skate. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was going to say Kaori will skate both pieces, but probably not. They'll probably have the same thing where they'll split it for Japan for the women. That could be the decider, what women skate in the short program, which is actually making the team event interesting.
The decisions that are made less so than the performances itself.
It's
Jill, how do
true.
you feel about the team event?
I kind of like it, and I like the strategy involved as we've just realized how all the moving pieces. It's kind of fun. The skaters seem to really like it, and it gives them a team feeling in such an individual sport that can be so unforgiving. So it's nice for them to get this chance to like feel togetherness and unity and work together for a goal. So I really like that aspect of it. Yeah, who do you pick? I wouldn't be surprised if Ilya himself said, "I want to do both. I can do both. I want to. Let me have it." Um, then it will be like, where are they in the standings? Because stuff can change, and one person or team makes an uncharacteristic mistake, and all of a sudden you have a point differential that you have to work to fix. So I mean, I don't know. I would want Amber to skate her short program because I love it so much. And yeah, I would imagine that Chalk and Bates skate both, and we'll see how the chips fall.
Yeah, I think in a normal year they would skate both, but the rhythm dance is because the team event is February 6th and February 7th and February 8th, and then the rhythm dance is February 9th. So they would be skating the
Oh,
free dance if they did both segments on the 7th and then turning around to do the rhythm dance on the 9th. It's a quick
that's a
turnaround.
lot. Yeah.
It's a really
Though
quick turnaround.
Carrera and Ponomarenko's rhythm dance seemed to hit better at nationals. It seemed the judges liked it more than they have in the past. So that may be a safe swap out, especially against Japan, where ice dance is not going to be an element for them, and then leave Chalk and Bates to just do the free dance in the team event. So they'll be a little more rested. But you could go the other way with that same decision because Carrera and Ponomarenko's long program this year, because they went back to the perfume program, also seemed to hit better at nationals than it had during the Grand Prix. So I, yeah, wow, this is going to be a coaching competition.
Yeah, it's I wouldn't want to be making the decisions, Justin Dillon or whoever's making those decisions because if you would historically up until the last one when you had two world medalists in ice dance that wanted to split and had the issue with the previous Olympics with the Shibatanis not wanting to split. Previously you would always split the singles. That was just like you would always split the singles. And I think most of the time it feels like the team event is already decided after the short program segment because and that's one of the issues I have with the team event is the scoring just doesn't there's not enough difference between the teams in the second half of the competition. I feel like they should be 2, 4, 6, 8, and 10 instead of 6 through 10 with the scoring so that it would mean more in the free skate process. So it could be, I don't know if they have to make those decisions or if they could make those decisions after the short program and be like, okay, we're subbing in Zingas and Kolesnik, who have scored better internationally than Carrera and Puerto Rico has, or no, we need Maddie and Evan to go. And but I would hate for ice dance to split just because I would like for two of the women to go. you know. But I
Agreed.
feel like with the proximity, then it's probably more likely that they're gonna split. But in the bronze, and then yeah, go ahead.
I was just about to say, we haven't even mentioned Georgia.
The bronze medal is going to be so interesting because yeah, Georgia just won two European championships. We've got Italy as the home team with the, to me, the most volatile because Daniel Grassel came in basically as a favorite, and he was terrible at Europeans, right? I mean, he's going to be the guy to go, and Laura Naki, who I love and who has skated so much better in the last couple of seasons, but she's also a bit of a wild card as well. So that's going to be an interesting one. Can Canada with Gogolev, can they get themselves back the way Maddie Skiza skated and that long program at Canadian Nationals? The bronze medal might be more interesting than the fight for gold.
Agreed. I think you're going to see again consistency being the issue because so many of the skaters you just mentioned have been inconsistent. And can they hit it when it matters? And I mean, it would be fun to see Italy on the team event podium, obviously for home crowd encouragement, but also to kind of get Conti and Magic just kind of going and get that program and that effort for the pairs to kind of see them succeed in the team event would, I think, give them an incredible amount of confidence going into their own event.
Right.
Mhm.
And for some of these entries is the team event a good warm up where if they may not do well or they're feeling the nerves, they get it out in the team event and they've got this team to help cover some points if they need to versus having to, if you make a mistake in the individual, you could be just out. So you get a
Yeah,
warm
it
up.
does sort of give you, especially in ice dance, I feel like it sort of gives you a little bit of that pecking order a little bit more versus some of the other disciplines more so than anything. But yeah, some people use it really good as a warm up. And then you have some kind of like Nathan Chen in 2018 where you're like, did it mess him up? Right. So it could go, I guess, both ways, but it'll be really, really fun. All right. Well, the men's, it was the last one that we have left. And I mean, nobody's beating Ely. I think we can all agree, that if he's skating on two legs, he's winning this Olympics.
If he's skating on
But
one
the
leg,
rest,
he's winning the Olympics. Really, that's
yeah, this
he
is true.
can
I
figure out
think,
how to make that work.
yeah, I think he's going to be great. I think that the 4-year fan is going to love him versus the the casual, versus us that are used to it. I think the 4-year fan is really, really going to love him for sure. But who makes up the rest of the podium is a completely different conversation. Again, I haven't watched Russian. I don't really consider Peter Gumenik to be a big, but his numbers at the qualifier were high. My understanding, he's been doing very well. He could be in the conversation. Who are you sort of looking at? I love Adam Seo Hemfa. He breaks my heart nearly every competition. I always feel like, can you just like dumb down the difficulty a little bit and just be clean? Kevin Amos, oh my gosh, I mean, another just crazy Europeans for him. Maybe if the Olympics was in the US, Kevin would do it. But who are you sort of looking at to fill those other podium places?
Oh, Yumi Kageyama.
Yeah.
I mean, that is just such a fantastic skater and has been so gorgeous for so many years. Love to see him on the podium. Daniel Grassel, when he skates clean, I don't know how the judges love this program, but they do. Becoming the Pope, I don't get it, but somehow it works for him. He will have either the home crowd advantage or the pressure of the home crowd just eating away at him. Obviously, Europeans puts a big question mark in his mind. Um, you know, Torgashev can pull off. The, uh, he's shocked me at nationals with how good he was. And if people start making mistakes and he skates two clean programs, Andrew Torgashev could find himself in a position that he doesn't expect. And that would be fun to see. Yeah, men is the most predictable and the most unpredictable because it's like we know the gold medal slot. Everything else is up for grabs. And I haven't even mentioned my a absolute favorite little pocket prince, Mikhail Shadorov, who I just adore. And talk about coming out on the world stage last year at Worlds. That was fun. I mean, his programs this year are a little out there, let's say.
Yeah, he went back to, I think the short program. I think he went back to last year's, I believe, Dune. At least at his last competition. I don't know what he'll do this week at Four Continents.
Thank goodness, because that was getting a little wild for me. But that's him, isn't it? That's what he's all about, just doing his thing. And if he can be clean, he's got to be on the podium. He's too good not to be.
Yeah, he's been this just hasn't been his best year. But then like we could say that with all the men. I felt Cal Mura, Jun Wan Cha, all of those have world medalists, Olympic medalist potential, but you just never know what you're going to get on the day. But if we think about Shadorov last year, this is when he really started peaking. Asian Games, Four Continents, Worlds. This is kind of his part of the season if he can get it together.
And if he follows his, coached by Alexei Romanov, who kind of came out of nowhere to become Olympic champion back
Hmm.
in his day. So he can
Yes.
certainly guide Shadorov through that tumultuous time of being on the world stage in a way that he has not dealt with before. And he's
Hmm.
very young and seemingly very sheltered in a good way. I really enjoyed watching him last year, and I really enjoyed watching his press conference. I wanted to go and give him a hug. I'm like, you did so good.
Yeah, I think him and Elia could have a nice, fun rivalry.
Oh,
If he
yes.
could really develop those skating skills a little bit more, because he's got some more room in his technicality for sure. Yeah, I don't know if he's got quad axles or quints, because Elia's teasing a quint. And I don't even know how I feel about that, but but I do think they could kind of have a nice little rivalry. Alexander Salevko, who hasn't been named as far as I know to the Estonian, but that's who we think is going to be. I'm guessing he's going to have to change his short program because they're making the third Canadian dance team change their rhythm dance music, which is to Prince for the Olympics. The Olympics only. It's fine for the Grand Prix, it's fine for Worlds, but for the Olympics, they have to change it. So I'm guessing Salevko is going to have to change his too if he goes, which sucks because it's such a good program. Again, it would just do so well on the world stage.
Is that just for music rights reasons?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, which maybe they should just ban Prince. I mean, as much as we love Prince, I mean,
Yeah.
goodness, they were able to put it in the Stranger Things. I don't know if you guys are Stranger Things people or not, but it was a big deal.
Yes.
They had Purple Rain and when Doves Cry in Stranger Things.
And that
We
was
can't do it in figure
dramatic.
skating.
Yeah, I
Well, I
had
was just shocked that NBC managed to say we're gonna get Amber Glenn's short program on YouTube. I thought that was not going to happen after nationals, but
Mm,
but they did. They coughed up some rights because that's another one where I'm just getting the rights for that program as and the hard thing is it's just phenomenal and it's such good music and it's so great for Amber, but oh man, music rights are just a whole rabbit hole of despair, I guess, because it's frustrating.
it is, and this is where it all started. Was the Olympics 4 years ago. With Alexa and Brandon. If it hadn't been them, I'm sure it would have been somebody else. But I know Hossie and Volodin had somebody compose the music for their free skate for this very purpose. A lot of people gave a lot of flack to the Moraz checks for using AI music for theirs, but they had a huge music right issue with their free dance last season, and they had to change it in the middle of the season. So I don't blame them, for trying to use some of these other avenues to try to avoid this. It's so unfortunate.
Yeah, it gets to a technicality that most even seasoned fans don't understand. Music rights is so complicated, and I get myself confused when they're like, "What do you mean but they competed it? Why can't I watch it again?" So it is that area of legality where sports and legal and all these different rights and artist rights really collide and just make fans miserable.
Right?
Yeah.
Or I mean, it is kind of on choreographers to be aware of what's there and I'm not sure who all chooses music, but I would think that somebody in the team would know this one's going to be really hard to get rights to. let's not even touch it. And don't even mess with that, because that's adding a whole nother layer of stress onto a skater of going, oh, great, now I've got to pull out a different program or try to set this choreography to different music because my original choice doesn't work. Why did nobody tell me? And yeah, is it on skaters to know a little bit about that too? Sure. But, you're also dealing with people who can be on the younger side, and I wouldn't expect them to have to know all of that on top of doing what they do.
This is why it's not a competition if we don't hear Malaguena. That's why they keep going back to the tried and
Right?
true, because that's, you're going to be safe. Does anybody have a Malaguena program this season? I don't think so.
No, the Mraz chicks do. They're free
Oh,
dancers to
good.
Malaguena.
Because
Yeah, and she's another one with the long skirt.
Oh, yeah, but it's not an Olympics without a Malaguena.
Yes, yeah, they were I think one of them was ill, I think, for European, so they weren't there. But yeah, absolutely, it's not. You got to have a Carmen, you got to have a Malaguena, you got to have Rachmaninoff number 2, right? Like that.
Yeah, and you got to have a bolero
Bolero.
somewhere along the way. Yeah, there's just a few.
Which we do. The Georgians have
Yep.
bolero. Yeah. Well, as we close out, I would love to have just what either one of you think that needs to be done, because we've seen that ISU has there's been some rumors about some changes that they're trying to make. They're clearly trying to make the sport more interesting. I personally have been very against a lot of the ice dance changes that they made in the squad. I'm very, very unhappy with. But what do you think they need to do sort of going forward to get more eyes on the sport without losing the integrity of the sport?
That's a good
There is
question.
that is a very good question, and a hard question, and a question I'm glad I don't actually have to answer with any consequences. There is that constant push and pull between how many points is a quad worth versus how many points is a spin worth. And a quad and a backflip, as you said, are going to get views on TikTok. A gorgeous spin isn't, but it should. And I don't think feeding the point system with quad, quad, quad is actually going to bring more people to the sport. I think it brings more people to the TikToks. And I think let's look at the broader issue of, let's get rid of participation points, where if you fall on the jump, you still get a ton of points for it, and go back to rewarding cleaner programs. Because I think people understand when you skate clean and you win. They don't understand and I'm talking casual fans, obviously, they don't understand when you win with falls and the other person was clean.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think rewarding cleanliness is good. What I don't like a lot, and especially in the men, is the constant tracking. Oh, I'm going to do a jump next, where we need connecting steps. We need this to be a program again, and not just a series of jumps. Or it reminds me of when in 2018, Alina Zagitova would just skate around for 2 minutes, and then once she hit the bonus period, then she'd start jumping. And that just ruined, again, that broke the system. So I think some tinkering would be helpful. I don't know how much changing we should do, but yeah, I would go back to rewarding cleanliness. And I don't love the idea of let's have 7 quad jumps or let's have 20,000 jumps in a program, because then it's just a jumping contest. And I also worry about how much that does to somebody's body in a way, and what happens 15, 20 years from now when we find out, oh, you've just been front loading your program. You've had programs with 7 quad jumps, 8 quad jumps. If we get to a quint, what happens? What does that do? And I think we need to look at the effects of the sport and what we reward in the sport and how that affects the body down the road, because I don't think that anybody wants somebody to be like totally crippled from their sport.
No, definitely not. I'm definitely for getting rid of a jumping pass. I think we have 6 jumping passes instead of 7. That's fine. We can have 5, right? The only discipline where I feel like there needs to be more increase in difficulty is pairs, because it feels very stagnant. They're all doing the same exact elements, a lot of times in the same exact order. And I do think they need to maybe reevaluate the points for a quad twist, a quad throw, just to, or maybe they need to think about increasing the value of a side by side jump, because there's not a big difference between a triple toe, a triple salchow, but maybe if a team did a side by side triple flip, it should be more rewarded. It shouldn't be worth the same points as it is in singles. I don't know if, but that is definitely a discipline to me that needs some tinkering, and in ice dance, I feel like needs some to go back a little bit to what it used to be.
Right, because then it starts looking like compulsories. And if you're watching the same program over and over, you're not going to care, just because the costume's different or the skater's different. If it's the exact same thing with maybe, oh my gosh, we did a triple toe versus a triple loop, or a triple sock house, sorry. And the casual fan is just going to get bored. And you need to have that casual fan brought in and really love the discipline.
And the ISU needs to stop punking us with what the rhythm dance is, with the theme for the rhythm dance.
Oh, I loved 90s.
Oh.
You know what I am bummed about? I was thinking about this during Nationals. I am bummed that nobody chose Austin Powers for their rhythm dance, because then you flip back into the 60s.
And you were disappointed nobody had the Macarena.
I was disappointed nobody did the Macarena. Kitsch it up, man. Kitsch it up. Backstreet Boys. Come on.
Yeah, I know. I think it was NHK where like it was 12 teams, 10 teams, and like maybe only 5 choices of artists. It was so much of the same thing. It was like, oh my goodness. And I'm a 90s girl. Like I love the 90s music. The dance party definitely tamed down the options, which sucked. But yeah, I just get just go back to ballroom. Just like, can we get, so many people want to waltz or a tango or something. They're so over and we're running out of decades at this point anyway. They're going to have to pivot a little bit, Unless they're
Britney Spears is next.
Come on, prog rock.
Yes. All right. Well, tell everybody how they can find you guys, how they can follow you guys and all of your adventures in Milano.
We are at flamealivepod.com. Keep the flame alive on all your podcast apps, and at Flame Alive Pod on social. We're on Facebook. We have a Facebook group, and Substack, and YouTube, and Instagram, and we are kind of on X and LinkedIn.
All the socials, yes.
Yes.
I too am on all the socials except for TikTok. I do not do the TikTok thing, but you can find me on all the socials at Ice Skate Podcast. And you guys, thanks so much for joining me today. It was lovely to talk to somebody. I'm usually on here by myself, so it's nice to talk to real people.
Thanks so much for having us, Kim. This was great.
Thank you.